Good morning, all of you. In today's lecture, we have studied this implementation of locking. We have studied this lock table. Okay, that means that we have a lock manager who will taking care of which data item is being locked by which transaction and how many transactions are still in a pending or requesting mode. So here you can see here we have a data item I7, I23, I912, I4, I44. These all are the data item. Till now we have taken the examples of the data items like data item A, B, C, like that. So these all are the similar. And here are the transactions like data item I7 has been locked by transaction T23. Data item I912 is locked by transaction T23. Data item I4 is locked by transaction T1 and T23 is waiting. How we can know that? These two are the symbols. If we have a square with a field black color, we can call it as a granted. This lock has been granted by the lock manager. And if we have a simple square, it is a waiting mode. Okay, so this we have covered. And once we have one node which is pointing out to another node, it is called a linked list. And it is not mandatory like you need to give ascending or descending order to storing the data items. Like first we need here I4, after that I7, after that I23. It is not needed. We just need to give the lock on the data item wherever it is required by any of the transaction. As we have covered in the last session, and we have seen what is graph based protocol. Okay, so we have here a graph. This is called a tree, like a directed tree. Here a root node is capital A. It has two child like B and C. B is having three child, D, E and F and so on. So rules for this tree protocol will revise. First rule, only exclusive locks are allowed in any of the nodes. Suppose I want to lock this D node, then only exclusive locks are allowed. First lock by any transaction. Suppose here transaction Ti means we are assuming T1. So first lock by T1 may be on any data item. It may possible I directly want to lock this data item E. Yes, it may be possible. Subsequently, a data queue can be locked by the same transaction only if the parent of that node is also locked. Okay, so if I want to lock this data item E by transaction T1, that simply means that the same transaction T1 needs to lock its parent too. That means there's node B and B's parent is A. So if I want to lock this node E, then it is mandatory to lock B as well as A. The parent also needs to be locked by the same transaction. Any data item which has locked previously may be unlocked at any time. The data item that has been locked and unlocked by any transaction cannot subsequently be relocked. Like suppose first time I have locked this data item D. After some of the transaction instructions, I am unlocking this lock, and then suppose I want to again locking this data item D, so it will not possible because as we have seen in the two-phase locking protocol, we have only two phase. The one is growing and one is shrinking. In growing phase, we can lock the data items. In shrinking phase, we can release the lock on the data item. But once we are releasing the lock, after that, it is not possible to relock the data item. So this we have studied in the last lecture. Okay, so the tree protocol ensures the conflict serializability as well as it will gives you freedom from deadlock. These are the benefits if you are using this tree protocol. That simply means why it is doing that. If you are locking this B protocol, it ensures that the parent is also locked so that it gives you a freedom from deadlock and conflict serializability. The advantages of using this graph-based or tree protocol: unlocking may occur earlier in the tree locking protocol than in two-phase locking protocol. If you see, in two-phase locking protocol, it is mandatory, like once we are unlocking, after we have made a lock on each and every data item. For example, if I have two data item A and B, and I want to lock A first, and after that I want to unlock A because now A data item is not needed, and then I want to lock B. But this scenario will not be possible in two-phase locking, because once we are locking any of the data item, then we can call it as a growing phase. Here it is a growing phase. And once we are unlocking, we can call it as a shrinking phase. And once we are in a shrinking phase, we are not able to lock any of the data item again. So locking should be done first, and after that unlocking should be happen. But here in graph based or tree based protocol, unlocking may occur earlier. If you want, you can unlock, but remember one thing: once you are unlocking the data item, after that you are not supposed to relock it again. So if we are unlocking it earlier as compared to the two-phase locking protocol, so the other transaction has smaller waiting time. So we can say that shorter waiting times, and it will increase the concurrency. Like more transaction will be run in the parallel manner. This protocol is deadlock free, as we have seen here. So if it is not a condition of a deadlock, so there should be no any rollbacks are required. So these are the advantages. Okay. So can anyone reply in the chat box? What are the disadvantages of this tree protocol? I'm just opening the figure so that you can have a better look. Can anyone suggest what are the disadvantages of tree protocol? Okay, the first disadvantage, we can say that suppose I want to access this J data item. So it is mandatory, like J data item is needed to be locked. So its parent also should be locked. So H is also packed. H's parents is D. It is also locked. B is also locked, and A is also locked. So some of the transaction want to access B, but it is not possible because previously one transaction has made a lock on J data item, and it will block all this data item. So any other transaction cannot work on these data items like A, B, D, H, or J. So it will gives you a poor concurrency. This is the main disadvantage of using this tree protocol. Protocol does not guarantee recoverability or cascade freedom. It may possible, like if in one schedule we have multiple transactions like transaction T1, T2, and T3. These three transactions we have in one schedule. So it may possible like transaction T1 is running, and meanwhile it fails, it is having some failure, hardware or software, so it need to be rolled back. So transaction T2 and T3 is taking any reference from transaction T1. So it also need to be wait. So protocol does not guarantee recoverability or cascade freedom. Transaction may have to lock data items that they do not access, that we have seen the example, like a transaction that need to access a data item A and J in the database graph must lock not only these two, but also B, D, and H. We have seen the same example. We are going back. If one transaction want to use this data item A and data item J, So it is mandatory to have a lock in these two data items. But if we are locking J, then we need to look this rule. Like whenever we are locking any of the data item, so its parent is also should be locked. So that H is also locked, D is also locked, and B is also locked. So currently we are using just this two data items, but the other transaction that want to use B, D or H, they also need to wait until we have completed our work in this two data items. So this is the disadvantage of using this protocol. It will increase the locking overhead and additional waiting time for the rest of the transactions, and it will potential decrease in the concurrency. Like it concurrency will not be good because multiple transaction cannot be work in parallel, because we have locked just two data items, and due to those two data items we have a multiple data item also locked, so it will be a poor concurrency. Schedules not possible under two-phase locking are possible under tree protocol. So it may possible the schedule, one schedule can have multiple transactions. So the schedules which are not possible under two-phase locking, it may possible the same schedule will be possible under this tree or graph-based protocol, or vice versa is also possible. Like some schedule are working properly with two-phase locking, but it will not work for tree protocol. Okay, so we are going towards the disadvantage and what we can do for some of the disadvantage, so that we have a new concept called multiple granularity locking scheme. Okay. First we'll see this figure and then we'll see the concept. Multiple granularity. Granularity means what? Granular means a small particles. So we'll divide our entire database into some small particles, so that we'll not lock the entire database. Instead of that, we are just locking the particles, the small areas, and the rest of the part will be accessible for rest of the transactions. Like we can divide our database, like this DB is database. We can divide our database into areas. Suppose we have two different area, A1 and A2. Areas can be further divided into files. Like if we have one area and it can be divided into multiple files. Like A1 area is divided into FA and FB, this two file, and A2 area is divided in FC file. One file can be further divided into records. Okay, so one file is having multiple records, and records means nothing but a particular row. So if I am having 3PC1 class, so I can say 3PC1 is my file, and if there are 68 students in the class, so I have 68 records in that particular relation. If I want, I can further divide this row also. It can be divided into cells. Like if I am having, we are thinking this is our database, the entire database, it contains two tables. We can call this two as a file, and each and every file can have multiple records. Okay, so in figure it will be look like this, but if we want further, it can be divided like this. Here we are having fields. Fields means column. Like each and every row have multiple values. Like if we are talking about a particular row, any particular student like Rutvi from your class, so Rutvi's enrollment number is there, her mentor name is there, SPI, CPI. So one row can also be further divided into multiple fields. So this is how we'll divide the entire database, so that we can apply lock on any particular granular. So this is a multiple granularity locking scheme. Okay. Now we can think for a scenario like a transaction Ti. We have one transaction which is T1. T1 needs to access the entire database. So we are using the locking protocol, and according to that, the transaction T1 must lock each data item in the database. Like अगर मैं ये database को ही lock कर दूँ, इसका मतलब ये database कोई और इसे parallelly use ना करे. That simply means that all the items which are available into the database needs to be locked. If I am locking a file, if I am locking this file, that means I am locking each and every records available in the file. Like if I am giving you a presentation PPT and I am setting a password, so we can consider this PPT as a file and each and every slide as a record. So if you are not putting a password and you are opening just into the reading mode, that simply means you are not able to modify each and every slide. So if I am giving any rights to this file, this PPT, so it will be applicable to each and every slides available into the PPT. So in multiple granularity, we have a more granular, that means small particles, and we have divide the different data items with different size. It may be possible like if in one file we have 68 records, in another file we have 500 records. So each and every granule, each and every particle or the portion has a different size. Okay? So we can divide this granularity into two terms. The first word is fine. For example, fine granularity means it will have a high concurrency and high locking overhead. And the one is coarse. Fine means the smallest one, and coarse means the bigger or the general approach, which will be larger. We can take one example, like if I want only from this entire file, I only want to lock this second row. So I can call it as a fine coarse. Fine means the smaller one. So if I am just locking this second row only, that means the rest of the row can be locked by any other transaction too. So it will provides you high concurrency. But if I'm saying that I want to lock this area, it is called coarse granularity. That means you are locking a larger portion. So whatever is under this area A1, like these two files and all the records available into these two files are also be locked. Okay, so that we have a two kind of granularity. The one is fine granularity and the one is coarse granularity. Fine means smaller. For example, suppose in this corona time, like you are one family and only you are quarantined, so it is called fine course. The rest of the people, rest of the family members are allowed to go out of your home, but you are not available because you are locked, you are quarantined. But if we are talking about course, so your entire house is quarantined, so no any family member is allowed to go outside your home. So we can call it as a course. It is a broader view. So granularity, it is the size of data items chosen as a unit of protection by a concurrency control protocol. It allows the data items to be of various size, as we have discussed, and define a hierarchy of data granularities where the small granularities are nested within the larger ones. As we have seen in this, small granularity like this one record is nested under this file. This file is also small as compared to area, and area is also small as compared to database. So once you are going from root to the leaf node, what is a root node? Root node means the first node of the tree from where we can start traversing. So this database is a root node. If I want to go to this RA2, so I need to choose this path. First I'm going to this database, then I'm choosing this area, then I'm going to this file A, and then I can search this particular row. So the small granularities, small means the smaller one, like row is small as compared to file, file is small as compared to area, like that. So the small granularities are nested within the larger ones. Can be represented, it can be represented graphically as a tree, but don't confuse with tree locking protocol. Tree locking protocol, as we have seen previously, this is a tree locking protocol. We can also call it as a graph based protocol because in tree we are having direction also. So if in exam, if they ask explain tree protocol or explain graph based protocol, you need to explain this figure and all these rules. But if in exam, if they ask explain multiple granularity locking scheme, so at that time we are going with this concept. Why we are granularity? We are having this kind of example because we are talking about we have a larger set, we are dividing it into the smaller particles, so that if we want to use only a small particle, so we are locking only that particular part, not the entire database. So whenever they are asking in exam multiple granularity, so you are taking this example. Database will be divided into areas, areas are divided into files, and files are divided into records. When a transaction locks a node in the tree explicitly, it implicitly lock all the nodes descendant in the same node. Okay, these two words are newer to us. We'll see what does it mean with example in the next slide. Granularity of locking. Level in the tree where locking is done. Okay, each and every level is being assigned, like database is at level 0, then this two area are at level 1, then this two, 3 files are at level 2, and all these records are at level 3. So we have a different level. So we can call these two levels can be further divided into fine and coarse granularity. Fine granularity means which is lower in the tree. Like if we are talking about these two nodes, if we are talking about these two nodes, the first one is this A2 and the second one is FC. So we are finding the level. This is the 0 level, 1, 2, and 3. So the lower level is 2. So we can say that if we are comparing this area and file, then file will be at the lower level. So it will be the smaller particle as compared to this area. So it will be lower in the tree. So it provides you high concurrency because if we have the entire database like this, we have a multiple files, and from these multiple files, if we are just using one row, if we are just highlighting this one row locked, so other transaction can also use any of the rows from this file, as well as they can use any of the records from this file. So it will provide you the high concurrency and high locking overhead. Coarse granularity, it will be higher in a tree, and it will provide you low concurrency and low looking overhead. Like if I am just locking this file instead of that one particular record, so if one file is having 68 records, so no any other transaction can acquire a lock on any of the records because the entire file is locked, and if file is locked, all their children are also locked. Like if I am locking this file, so all the records or rows available inside this table is also locked. If I'm locking this file with exclusive lock, so that no any other transaction can have a lock until I am done with my task with this file. So coarse granularity will provide you low concurrency. If transaction T1 has exclusive lock on this file and transaction T2 just want to read the third record, transaction T4 only want to read the entire file, So both this transaction T2 and T4 need to wait until transaction T1 has completed its task with this entire file. So it will gives you a low concurrency as compared to the fine granularity. Okay, now we'll see the concept of implicit and explicit. Suppose we have this kind of tree structure where this is the root node. So I am writing R here. This is the root node. It has two child like A and B. A is having one child C, B is having one child D, and D is having two child like E and F. Suppose I am saying this node D is locked. This node D is locked. So by default, its children is also locked. This concept is called explicit. If I am locking this A protocol, so by default C is locked. This is called explicit locking. And if I am having this tree, this is a root node, this is a node A, node B, node C, D, and E. If only leaf node means the node who is not having any child, like node R, node, they are having child like A and B, so R is not leaf node. A is also not leaf node because A is having a child which is a node C. B is also not leaf node because it has two children D and E. So you can say that C, D, and E, these three are leaf nodes. So leaf nodes are locked. It is called implicit locking scheme. So we studied two types. What is explicit and implicit? Explicit means if I am locking a one particular node and if it has children, so all the child are also locked by default automatically. If I'm applying a lock on this node only, then childrens are also locked, and in implicit only the leaf nodes are locked. Okay, we'll have one another example how we can divide the entire database will be divided into different files. Different files are divided into pages having different records, and each and every record has different fields. These all are the levels for this granularity. Like this is the level 0, so it will give you the entire database. Level 1, level 2, 3 and 4. Whenever you are going down to this, you can have fine granularity, and when you are going from bottom to top, it will be give you the coarse granularity. Okay. For example, if a transaction locks a page, you can see from here I am highlighting this. If a transaction locks a page, specifically page 2, you can see in the figure all its record, like page 2 is having two records, record 1 and record 2. So all its record as well as all their fields like this field 1 and field 2 are also locked. Previously we have seen this rule, like if we are locking any of the node, then by default its children are also locked. It is a very simple way. If you are locking a PPT by a password, then you are not able to unlock, or you are able to view the slides of that PPT, and inside slide if you have two different images, then also you are not able to copy that images. The same thing, if you are locking this page 2, that simply means their children, that means record 1 and 2 are locked, and record 1 is having again two children, so this field 1 and field 2 are also locked. If another transaction requests an incompatible lock on the same node, so we are thinking like here page 2 we are giving exclusive lock, and another transaction apply for shared lock. So exclusive and shared lock are not compatible because shared lock means just reading the data item, exclusive lock means reading and writing on the data item. So So if they are requesting for an incompatible lock on the same node, the DBMS clearly knows that the lock cannot be granted. Okay, so transaction T1 has applied for exclusive lock on page 2. It is granted by a lock manager, and if one node is having lock, so by default its children is also having lock. So all these highlighted one, field 2, record 1, record 2, and page 2, all these 5 nodes are being locked. Now if any other transaction comes here and they are asking for shared lock on this page 2, they just want to read the item available inside the page, but writing and reading cannot be occur simultaneously. So exclusive and shared cannot be compatible. So DBMS knows that, and the next transaction which is coming just now, it is not granted the lock for the second transaction. We'll see one another case. If another transaction, suppose transaction T1 has apply lock, we have taken the example like transaction T1 is coming and it will apply exclusive lock on this page 2. So page 2 is locked and all of this children is also locked. Now transaction T2 is coming. If another transaction requests a lock on any of the descendant means if we are talking about this page 2, so their descendants are this record 1, record 2, field 1 and field 2. Suppose we think that transaction T2 wants to have a lock on record 2. It is requesting for lock on record 2. So the DBMS checks that the hierarchical path from the root to the requested node. So it will started from here database, it will going into file, it will going into page, and it will going into this record 2. In this entire path which I have highlighted here, in this entire path, any of the node is previously locked. So it will going from path from root to the requested node to determine if any of its ancestor means इसके ऊपर वाला node, like if it is a record 2, so we are talking about either page 2 or file 2 or database. So if any of these ancestors are locked, so it will check this before deciding whether for transaction T2 I will grant the lock or not, and then it will check the compatibility. Thus, if request is for an exclusive lock on record 1 or record 2, suppose transaction T2 has given an exclusive lock request on this record 2. So DBMS will check, like it will start from the database. It will going into this file, then page, and then record. In this entire path, do any of the node is having any kind of lock? Yes, we are having lock on page 2. So DBMS check its parents, page 2, its grandparent, which is file 2, and the root one, which is database. So if any of them are locked, when it finds that the page 2 is already locked, so DBMS or the lock manager will deny the request for transaction T2. Okay. Till now, do anyone have any query? Do anyone have any query? Okay. So we'll move further. Additionally, a transaction may request a lock on a node and a descendant of the node is already locked. Okay, we'll again go back to that slide so you can have a look. For example, if a lock is requested on file 2, like if a lock is requested on this file 2, the DBMS checks every page in the file, every record in those page, and every field in those records to determine if any of them are locked or not. Okay. We are going in the reverse manner. Suppose now I just want to acquire a lock on file 2. I have request for this. So the task of database or the task of lock manager is to verify in this file if this any of this page is locked or not, any of the records are locked or any of the field are locked, If it is there, then we are not granting this file to lock. Like in this database, we are having different files. In different files, we are having different pages, and in different pages, we are having different records. Okay, so if anyone has asked that I want to acquire a lock on this file, it is requested. Till now, it is not granted, it is requested. So, lock manager or DBMS will identify that in this file, in any of these two pages, we have two pages, the first one and the second one. So, we have two pages. In any of the page or in any of the record, do we have any kind of lock? If not, only then I can give a lock for the entire file. Okay. To reduce the searching involved in locating locks on descendants, the DBMS can use another specialized locking strategy, which is called multiple granularity locking. And this strategy uses a new type of lock called an intention lock. Okay. So if I want to lock this file too, I need to check each and everything. Like this file have 3 pages. Each and every page has different records, and each and every records has different field. If any of the smaller particle, the small data item is locked or not, only then I am able to give a grant for this file too. But it is a very tedious task. So what we can do is we can have a new strategy, and we are calling this kind of lock as a intention lock. Till now we have studied only two types of lock, which is shared and exclusive. Shared lock is used for just reading the data items, and exclusive locks are used for reading as well as writing the data items. But now we are having one new type, which is called intention lock. When any node is locked, an intention lock is placed on all the ancestor of the node. Thus, if some descendant of file 2 is locked and a request is made, the presence of an intention lock indicates some descendant is already locked. So what this intention lock will do, in the previous slide we'll see in the example, suppose I am locking this, then intention lock has some kind of characteristic. It can also lock its ancestor. Ancestor means the previous node. If we are talking about this record 2, then ancestor node is this page 2, file 2, and database. And it is also looking for the descendant, that means the node which are coming after the nodes. So it will taken care of both the previous node as well as the next nodes. So we can get an idea, and we need not to search in the database to identify each and every data item is having lock or not. Okay. In exam, it may also ask like explain multiple granularity locking scheme, or else it can also be asked like explain intention lock modes. We have 3 different intention lock modes. In addition to this shared and exclusive lock modes, there are 3 additional lock modes with multiple granularity. The first one is intention shared. Okay. The second one is intention exclusive. And the third one is shared and intention exclusive. Okay, first we'll see the definition and then we'll go for the visual representation. So intention shared means it indicates explicit blocking. Explicit means what? We have seen the previously, like if we have a tree like this, and if I'm locking this node, then by default its children are being locked. This is called explicit technique. So intention shared indicates explicit locking at a lower level. Lower level means its children of the tree, but only with the shared locks. Okay, so we'll see one example. Like if we are having this kind of tree, and I'm applying this node as an intention shared lock. So by default, it's 2 children are to be locked in the shared mode. This is called intention shared. We are locking this node in intention shared, so by default its children are to be locked in the shared mode. The next one is intention exclusive. It will indicate explicit locking. Again, if we are doing any change, if we are locking any of the node, so the children's are also be affected because it is an explicit locking. So it will explicit locking at a lower level with exclusive or shared lock. That means suppose I have this kind of structure like this, and I am applying intention exclusive lock here. So by default, its two children like this two are to be locked either in a shared mode or in an exclusive mode. Okay. And if this node is in exclusive mode, so by default, their children are also being locked. Okay. The third one is shared and intention exclusive. The subtree rooted by that node is locked explicitly in shared, and explicit locking is being done at lower level with exclusive mode locks. Okay. That means that suppose we have this kind of tree and I am applying this node for shared and intensive exclusive. So there's subtree. If we are talking about this left subtree like this, so the children of this shared and intention exclusive lock will be in the shared lock. This node will be in the shared lock, and the children of this node will be in the exclusive lock. These two are in exclusive, this node in the shared node, and this will be shared intention exclusive. Okay, again we'll revise. We have total 5 types of locking now. The first one is shared, the second one is exclusive, and now we have learned these 3 new words, which is intention locking. We have 3 types for the intention locking. The first one is intention shared, the second one is intention exclusive, and the third one is shared and intention exclusive. Okay, I am putting this node as an intention shared node, then by default its lower level, that means its children will be in the shared node. This is called intention shared. I'm blocking this node with intention exclusive, so by default its children will be either in the shared or in the exclusive node. And if this node is in exclusive or shared, so by default its children are also in the locking node. If I'm putting this node with shared and intention exclusive, so its children are in the shared node and its grandchildren are in the exclusive node. Okay. Now we need to remember the compatibility matrix with this intention lock modes. Till now we have studied these two, shared and exclusive, and now we are having this different 5 types of lock. The first one is intention shared, intention exclusive, shared and intention exclusive, and exclusive. Okay, you need to remember this because whenever the question will ask, we need to draw this compatibility matrix for all the locking modes. So the best way you can remember this, first you will write in the same sequence, like the first is intention shared. So here also the first one should be intention shared. Then intention exclusive, then shared and intention exclusive, and exclusive. Okay. We know that exclusive lock mode is not compatible with any of that because it is just for writing, and if we are sure we are just writing, so it is not compatible with any of them. So first we'll marking cross for this row as well as this column. Okay, now we need to remember when can we mark true, like which lock is compatible with which. So Intention shared simply means that their children are in the shared mode. So shared means they are just reading the values, so it is compatible with the rest of the things. So intention shared, here we are having a right except this x. एक्सक्लूसिव के अलावा हर जगह पे वो compatible ही है. Whatever we have done for this column, the same thing we need to do for this row. Okay. And previously we are knowing that shared lock is compatible with shared. So here we are marking right. We need to remember only this one point, like intention exclusive is compatible with intention exclusive. Because in intention exclusive, there can be a possibility like your children will be having a lock which can be shared also. So here we are making right. Rest of the things, it is not compatible. Okay, again we'll see how you will remember this. You need to write in the same sequence, like first if you are here you are writing is, so here also is. Second element is also equal, third element equal, fourth and fifth. This is how you will prepare the matrix. Exclusive lock is not compatible with any of the lock type. So whenever you are finding exclusive, mark all the field wrong, so it is not compatible with any of the type. So we are done with this. Now we need to remember intention shared. That means they are just reading the data items. So it is compatible with the rest of the logs. And whatever you are doing for this first column, the same thing we are doing for the first row, because here also it is intention shared and it is also compatible other than exclusive log. We know that shared is compatible with shared. So here we are marking right. You need to remember this one thing, intention exclusive is compatible with intention exclusive. So we are marking here right. Rest of the place will be marked as a false. It is not compatible with any of the log types. So the rules for multiple granularity scheme transaction, if any of the transaction like TI want to lock a node Q, so it needs to use the following rules. The first rule, the lock compatibility matrix must be observed. So it needs to be verified, like if it is in a shared mode and the other node is in an exclusive mode, so they are compatible or not. So this compatibility matrix must be observed. This is the first and important rule. The second rule, the root of the tree must be locked first and may be locked in any mode. That means, okay, I'm just writing it here. If I have this kind of tree structure, and if I want to acquire a lock in any of the node, suppose I want to acquire a lock on this, so it should be mandatory, like root node should be locked. It can be locked in a shared mode, it can be locked in an intention shared, exclusive, it can be locked in any of the mode, but root should be locked. This is the second rule. The root of the tree must be locked first and may be locked in any of the mode. We have 5 types of locking. Node Q can be locked by any transaction in shared or intention shared mode. It is possible only if the parent of this particular node is currently locked by the same transaction in this two mode. Okay, what does it means? We'll see here. If we are having this kind of tree structure and I want to lock this Q data item, Q node. So if I want to lock this Q either in the shared mode or in the intention shared mode, then I need to verify, like this node's parent is node A. So A should be currently locked in any of these two lock type. Okay, this is the rule. If I want to lock this node Q in any of these two nodes, then I need to verify that the parent of this node should be locked currently in any of these two lock type. Okay. Fourth rule, if a node should be locked in this three mode, Previously we have seen for this two. Now we are taking rest of the three lock type. If any node will be locked by any transaction for this three mode, so we need to verify that the parent of that particular node should be currently in this locking mode. For example, like यहाँ पे अगर हमें Q को X, IX और SIX ये तीन में से कोई भी मोड में लॉक करना है, so we need to verify the parent which is A, it should be locked either in IX or in SIX. Only then I am able to lock this particular Q node. Fifth one, any transaction can lock a node only if it has not previously unlocked any node. We know that the transaction are using the two-phase locking protocol. So once we are unlocking any of the data item, then we are not able to lock it again. So we can lock a node only if it has not previously unlocked, because we have two phase. And the last one, transaction can unlock a node Q only if none of the children of this node are currently locked. This is a very simple way. If we are seeing in this manner, so if I have this kind of tree structure and I want to unlock this node, the parent node, this one, so by default I need to verify this two first unlock, and only after that I will unlock the parent. Like if I want to allow anyone to take images from my PPT of any of the slide, so first I need to remove the lock from the PPT itself. So the same thing, we need to, if I want to unlock any particular node Q, suppose this is a node Q, so the children are currently locked by TI. Observes that lock are acquired in root to leaf, whereas they are released in leaf to root. So अगर हमें किसी को लॉक करना है, तो अगर पेरेंट को लॉक किया है तो चिल्ड्रन बाय डिफॉल्ट लॉक होंगे, और अगर हमें चिल्ड्रन को अनलॉक करेंगे तभी पेरेंट अनलॉक हो पाएंगे. सो वी आर गोइंग इन दिस मैनर. Okay. Okay, so we have done today a major concept. First, we have seen what is the disadvantage of tree protocol. Then we are going for multiple granularity concept. Granular means what? A small particles. So we are dividing our entire database into the different parts. It can be of different size. And if we are having a small parts, we can call it as a fine granularity. If we have a larger parts, we can call it as a coarse granularity. If we have a smaller part and I'm applying a lock on a smaller part, so it may possible any other transaction can use another small parts. So it can provide a high concurrency, whereas the larger parts, if I'm locking, so it will provide us low concurrency. Then we have seen these three intention lock modes, and we have seen this compatibility matrix, and you know that now how to remember this. And then we have seen these rules for multiple granularity scheme. Okay. Do anyone have any doubt? Do anyone have any doubt? They can ask in the chat box. Any one of you, any of the doubt? Yes or no? At least you can reply this so that I can to know that. Okay, good. Okay. So I think we are done with the session and I will take your attendance. Remember, in exam, this question can be asked in multiple ways, like explain multiple granularity locking schemes. So you need to write all these 6 rules. The figure, I'm just showing you again. So remember. Okay, this figure is important. It is from the reference book itself. So if in GTU, if they ask multiple granularity locking schemes, so you need to draw this figure. You need to explain those 6 rules. You need to write this two type, fine and coarse granularity. This is we have done for the visualization. It is if you are not writing it like this, it is quite okay because it's in book, it is not given. I have just made the animation to give you a better experience of learning, so it is not needed. And you need to write this three log also as well as compatibility matrix. If they're asking 7 marks, you need to write this entire stuff. If they're asking 4 marks, so no need to write for this locking. You can just mention the name of the three locks: intention shared, intention exclusive, and shared and intention exclusive. Okay. So I will take your attendance. Ria, Hemangi, Hemangi, Shyam, Kirtan, Rupal, Kunal, Awadh, Nancy, Vaibhav, Kushal, Akanksha, Forum, Dhwani, Dakshabin, Tanvi, Harshit, Mahir, Harshit, okay. Parth, Urvashi, Kumarpal, Rahul, Bhavik, Pooja, Pal, Bhavik is not here. Okay. Rutvi, Rutiben, Akshay, Akash, Ahmed, Satin, Chinmay, Dhairya, Milan, Hitesh, Hina, Chirag, Vensi, Kamalraj, Dhairya, present, okay. Chirag is not present. Kamalraj, Astha, Shelvi, Jaikishan, Hiren, Naresh, Muna, Yatish, Muhib Hussain, Krish, Yatish is not present. Mishi, Kushal, Umang, Karth, Karthik, Deep, Urvisha, Mihir, Nirali, Sharad, Rahul, Shreya, Krishna, Yatish, wait for a while. Krishna, Milan, Sunil, Harsh, Milan, present. Sunil, Harsh, Diksha, Zenith, Varun, Stuti, Yash is present. Yash, okay. Okay, so absentees for today, if anyone is present, let me know in the chat box. Harsh, Sunil, Krishna, Nishi, okay, Chirag. Wait a minute, Chirag. Kamal Raj is absent. Chirag is present. Okay. Kamal Raj, Akshay, Bhavik, Dakshabin. Okay. Okay, so we are done with the today's session. Thank you, all of you. You can leave the meeting now.